4 o'clock. Kelly, if you could take the roll.
Bella Corelli.
Present.
Lasky. Shireman.
Here.
Hutchinson.
Here.
Ponick.
Here.
Belter. Mugerauer.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Excellent. First up, approval of the August 5th, 2024 meeting minutes. If you've had a chance to read them and review them, I'll take a motion in a second for approval.
So moved.
Second.
So is there like a discussion period or something? It says that I motion to approve. This was on this third page, and I wasn't here, so it wasn't me.
Oh, okay.
So I'm not sure who did.
Which item was that?
24.
Yeah, 2409.
Oh, okay. Yep, we will correct that.
Go back, watch the tape, and
Yep.
okay. With that correction, any other comments on last meeting minutes? Thank you for catching that. If none, we'll take the roll on approving the minutes.
Bella Corelli.
Aye.
Shireman.
Aye.
Hutchinson.
Aye.
Ponick.
Aye.
Mugerauer.
Aye. 24-11, public hearing. Approved spotlight designation for property located at 929 Winnebago Avenue. So this is a public hearing, so I got to read it 3 times here as well.
Thank you.
And do we have, I don't have anyone in the audience for this one, but I'll read it a second time. Public hearing for, continue the first time, sorry. Public hearing on approved spotlight designation for property located at 929 Winnebago Avenue. A second time, public hearing for approving spotlight designation for property located at 929 Winnebago Avenue. Anyone else or anyone at all? 24-11, public hearing, approved spotlight designation for property located at 929 Winnebago Avenue. We have no one here. I'll consider the public hearing closed, and then we'll take a motion in a second on 24-11.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, or maybe you want to give a little background before we go to discussion?
Sure, absolutely. This is a project that we've been talking to the RDA about quite a bit. So we are at the point where we would like to spotlight this property, as the city will be acquiring the former Washington School, elementary school from the Oshkosh Area School District. We are looking to demolish the school and construct 19 single-family homes in a workforce price point, so workforce income price point. So that's people that make 80 to 120% of the area median income. This is a partnership project with Habitat for Humanity. So conceptually, they will be constructing 9 homes and we will be constructing 10 homes. And we are working together on the site prep. And one of the first things we need to do is, in order to utilize additional funds that we have available to us, Community Development Block Grant through HUD, we do need to blight the property. The city did work closely, with some consultants to do a phase 1 and looked at previous reports to find findings and determinations of why it is blighted. And we believe that redevelopment of the site is the best use for the site long-term for single-family houses. Does anybody have any questions?
I do. My question is more just for me, because I support the project, but is there anything between blight, like is it blighted or not blighted? I mean, those are the only 2.
That is correct.
Because a lot of people, there's misconceptions that, like, it looks okay, it looks old, but it looks
Right.
okay, versus other things that we blight, they're falling down and that kind of thing. But there's no in between.
There isn't.
There is or isn't.
Yeah, state statute does list a lot of reasons why something could be blight. So obviously when you say blight, like you said, it's very subjective. People can come up with their own conclusion of why it could be blight. In this situation, in the attachments of the packet here, we did include the facilities report that the school district did on all of their different schools, and there were a lot of issues with that. And then of course, the city is not using it, so it is a vacant building. And typically that is an indicator of blight or future blight. So that's why we're at this point right now, because we want to make sure that the area stays safe, that it's in, and we don't have an issue in the future.
Got it. Thank you.
As Kelly mentioned, one of the statute reasons for blight is configuration and use of an existing structure. And in
Right.
this case, They tried to sell it for reuse of the building, but given the style of construction configuration it is, it's just not usable for anything but a school.
It's a
So
good
that does
reminder.
meet one of those
Yeah.
criteria.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good question. Any other questions or any discussion on 2411?
I just want to say that I like the idea that it's a private-public partnership.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, public nonprofit.
Yeah.
So the RDA, as you know, we've worked with Habitat quite a bit. We give them quite a few of our infill lots for free sometimes, or $1. And Grove Street, they did a lot. So yeah, we definitely partner a lot with Habitat and hope to do more in the future.
And if I recall, you said that the last time we talked about this, I think we were talking about the style of housing, that you looked at the neighborhood to make sure that the style of the homes were going to fit that neighborhood.
Correct. The city is almost completed with the housing design book that we've been working on. We have all the drafts, some final minor tweaks we need, and within the next week or so, we should have our fully developed final designs for our infill housing design book. The goal here is to utilize those designs as part of this.
Then who actually is going to do the building of the city homes?
That's something that we will most likely have a request for proposals released for, to receive a proposal for a master builder, somebody that would come in and build all of the city homes.
Is there, how much is the city buying, is the city buying it from the school district, or are they contributing it?
So the city and Habitat together are purchasing it for $75,000 from the school district.
Do you know how much it's gonna cost for the demo?
Right now, based on some other estimates that we have seen from the demolition of Merrill School, we just demoed some buildings earlier this year on Main Street. We are, right now, we have budgeted about $400,000 for that. That also includes like asbestos inspections and removal too, because we know that that will be part of it.
Key reason we're looking to blight it to unlock sources for the demolition.
Yeah.
Other funds and, yeah.
So that's the benefit of us doing it, because the school district doesn't have access to those kinds of funds.
That is
It
correct.
does sort of, in a way, feel like we're letting the school district off the hook on a property that, you know.
Yeah, but it's public property coming, staying public so that we can achieve an objective of,
No,
Yeah, and we wouldn't want to see that sit vacant either.
I agree.
And
Yeah,
the
so-
neighborhood, that was one of the biggest concerns with the neighborhood meetings was if this thing sits vacant, what, I don't want to jump to vandalism, but that's really what it is. It's broken window, that
No,
type of stuff spirals quick. And,
I get all that, I totally agree with that.
In doing the neighborhood meetings, which we had many, the overall theme from everyone we had is, can we do single family homes here? It's going to best blend into the neighborhood. It's a tall order to ask from a private developer, given the need to remove the school.
So that brings up another question, is what would be the approximate cost of building these homes, and how much would we be selling them for? And I'm assuming if we sell the homes even to Habitat families or to the city homes, they go back on the tax roll,
Absolutely.
where now it's not taxed, that property
It's
is,
exempt currently.
Right.
So we'll be converting exempt property to taxable.
right. Do we have an idea of what the homes might sell for?
We do not have exact numbers yet. We're still working on the civil engineering costs to get them shovel ready for building on.
Okay.
The goal, given the the nature of the area, that's why we did the housing design book, to try to develop homes that are appropriate for that area. We still have to finish the cost estimates of what construction will be, and that's partly why working with a master builder is going to be important, to try to see how we can get those costs as low as possible to make sure we're achieving those goals of workforce housing.
Are we anticipating it to be similar to Grove Street, or is it so different now?
It'll be different.
It'll be different, just unfortunately costs have gone up so dramatically that
all right. If there's no other discussion, if you'll take the roll.
Bella Crowley,
I
Shireman,
Aye.
Hutchinson,
I,
Panic,
Hi.
Mugrauer.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Next up, 24-12, approved lease agreement with Boltworks LLC. I'll take a motion and a second, please.
I move to approve.
Second.
if you want to give us a little background on this as well.
Absolutely. This is another project we've been talking about quite a bit. The RDA has property here on the former Boltworks site, right next to the former sanitation garage. So this is a lease agreement with Boltworks LLC. That's the LLC that Chet Wiesenberg and Tim Hess are part of. They are the developers that are proposing to develop the 52 residential units within 2 buildings on those 2 parcels. And as part of that, they have requested that the city and the RDA enter into a lease agreement to lease them the property during construction, and then once they construct the property and receive a case closure approval from the DNR, then we will transfer the property to them. Now, this is something that we do with pretty much, I would probably say 95% of our redevelopment projects along the river or on contaminated sites. The reason for is because as they are constructing, there is contamination on site, but as part of their construction, they will be capping some of the contaminated areas with different aspects of their development, including the building, parking lot, walkways, landscaping. And so it minimizes their exposure to potentially, finding additional contamination and issues on site if the RDA or the city have that ownership. So it's really a way to protect the developer, help them, and protect the city too. So typically we enter into the lease agreement, and it's about 6 months or so after the construction is completed and DNR comes out and approves that the developer followed their remedial action plan and capped in all the appropriate places. And then we will transfer it over back to the developer, and then it will be back on the tax roll. So RDA, we're requesting that they approve it for the RDA site, and then at council next week, we'll be bringing it forward for the city parcel on where the former sanitation garage is, and that we're also bringing the development agreement forward as part of that also for TIF assistance.
So they've not, Boatworks LLC did not purchase the property.
That's correct.
We
They're gonna
own the property.
correct.
They're gonna rent it for $1
Correct.
a year until it's built.
Correct.
So they get the property
Correct.
and, okay.
Yep.
Is there any monitoring of contaminants after the building is built?
Yep, and they will be responsible for that. Typically, that's when the DNR comes out, and if they build, like they have they call it a remedial action plan. This is what you have to do as part of your development to cap, the contamination. If they follow that, there'll be some minimal monitoring and reports that they'll have to do. But really, if they follow the plan, it should be good. And fortunately for this site, there was actually very limited contamination. There's a small little strip right in the lagoon that does have a deed restriction on it placed on by the DNR. I believe there was some petroleum contamination there. And the RDA, we're actually just going to hold on to it. We're not going to disturb it. We're not going to do anything. It's adjacent to our city property for us to manage our river walk. So taking that liability off of their plate really helped them move forward and help give some assurance to their lender also to fund this project and give them a loan.
But is it like 5 years after do they test, 10 years after do they,
It depends on what type of contaminants they
Okay.
find. And like I said, it's pretty minimal here because it was just a marina, an office. They made boats here, so it really is more petroleum-based contaminants that they found. A lot of urban fill from previous uses. So.
Okay.
Is there a time limit? Like, so they're gonna construct it and we put a time limit on it?
Yeah, as part of our TIF development agreement, we have completion dates in there, and in there, we did have a date for both phases to be constructed by December 31st, or excuse me, June 30th of 2027, I believe. And we also have start dates that they have to start construction on the first phase
That's
and
part
the
of the
second
TIF.
phase. Yes, but it's also part of the lease agreement too. We just have the language
Got
in
it.
there. Yeah.
Okay, got it.
What's the reason for the 50 years if they?
That is just very standard language that we have in all of our lease agreements. That's what, when we worked with the DNR, that's what they suggested. Really, it's kind of worst case scenario if for some reason they could not receive a case closure. So that is something that, knock on wood, we've never had to deal with that. Everything has been transferred over. But typically, that's something that lenders like to see, that there's some assurances in there that if they're still working with the DNR, that they have some flexibility there with that.
Is it normal to have that much water in this kind of plot?
Along the river, if you look at a lot of our parcel lines, there is a lot of parcels that do show that they are going into the water. That was mix of different reasons. Sometimes there was land there at one time when the parcels were created. In some situations, they actually used to put the parcel lines in the water too. So we kind of have a lot of different reasons throughout the city why some of the parcels are over the water.
So would we expect that to maintain as water, or?
It will be water,
Okay.
yes, yes. Yeah, even though the parcel goes into the water, it falls into the jurisdiction of the state Army Corps of Engineers, so they are very limited at what they can do.
Just so I have my bearings, that's the boat, the kayak launch up.
Correct,
Okay.
yep. Were there any other questions?
With the development, there was I think 3 or 4 different high tension wires. Is
Yes.
that something that needs to be moved, or?
No, those are the ATC. They're high voltage lines. That's something that we're actually working with ATC. Believe it or not, ATC does not have easements in those areas.
Okay.
So ATC has come to the city and the RDA requesting easements. So from our standpoint, we are working on making sure that the easement language allows us to develop our RDA lots, but at the same time, make sure that there's protections in place for what ATC needs to have for the requirements that they have to follow. So that is a work in progress. But obviously the developers know about that, and their building is not underneath the lines. So we made sure that that's just landscaping, nature kind of area that they're staying away from. Yeah.
Does the agreement have anything about whether or not, if they pull out of the deal?
Yep, so we have that, that's covered in our development agreement and the options. So that is something that, if they do not, let's just say they just build phase 1 and they don't do phase 2, then we would not, obviously, we would still work with them to try to get that case closure for the first phase. And then we would, we hadn't sold them, we would hopefully then transfer maybe one parcel to them where their building is on. And then the other parcel that we would have, we would probably bring it back to this group, or if it's a city one, and do another RFP to get something else over there on that location. Any other questions?
Well, lots of good questions.
Yeah.
If there's nothing else, take the roll on 24-12.
Okay, Bella Corelli,
Aye.
Shireman,
Aye.
Hutchinson,
Aye.
Panic,
Hi.
Miguelauer.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Executive Director report, and then scheduling of the next meeting.
Absolutely. So in the packet, I did have quite a few different items on here. Like I said, things are progressing really well on the former Morgan Dory Geldwin site. If you haven't seen it, it's really great to see that building going up there. The Mill on Main, we are still in communication with them a little bit more now, actually, because they are getting close to finalizing their financing. I'm sure today's announcement helped even more with that. So we are actually working on some exceptions to clean those up. So things are going in the right direction. Yep.
Can I just ask a question about the Theta Care?
Yep.
Was there any neighborhood pushback on the third story?
We did have a neighborhood meeting. Mark, you want to talk a little bit about that?
We had a neighborhood meeting. Number of individuals attended. Actually, more attended the neighborhood meeting for the third story than the original. After that neighborhood meeting, however, we had no one attend Plan Commission or Council during the formal approval processes.
Okay.
So
What were their concerns?
there was a mixture of concerns that we heard at the neighborhood meeting. Some of them were more of like, why do we need a third hospital?
Yeah.
which, that decision
Not
had
part
been
of
made,
that, yeah. It's not
Um,
part of-
There were some other concerns, specifically about Theta, and maybe some concerns with them as a hospital organization. There was no actual discussion related to the relevance of a third story. We heard questions about if they thought they could get enough employees to operate a hospital. It was things of that nature, not discussion necessarily even relevant to 2 verse 3.
It's not gonna block my sight to the river, that wasn't a
Nope.
Where that should be.
That's where I was thinking they were gonna go.
So overall, things are going well.
Yeah,
on that
okay.
side.
That's good, and it's, it's great that they're willing to put that investment in our central city. I know my only one question, and it may not be relevant for here, but was actually a parking question. With adding a 3rd story, it's more square footage, and it's through that process, just didn't know,
Yep,
it's
so
more of
there
a
is-
planned process, and I'll have another chance at it, but if
Yeah.
I can get the answer here.
And they do have areas shown for increased parking for the 3rd story. Some of it is a little bit of a moving target. We're gonna have them come back when it's finalized, because right now it's been just added as shell space, because they don't have the final plan for what will be in it. As that proceeds a little further and we know those final uses, we may have them come back if we need to address parking again.
Just because of all the spaces, neighborhood spillover would be an issue in that space, so.
Well, one of the things we talked about during the process was still making sure we did not have access to the west through the neighborhood. So it continues to function only off accesses directly to the south, trying to mitigate impacts on that neighborhood to the west.
They still own that parcel though across the,
To the east across
Yeah,
Jackson
on-
Street, or
right.
Oregon Street.
yeah.
Yeah, no plans for that one
Right.
yet.
Okay,
Yeah.
thanks for that.
Yeah, I'm just looking to see if there's anything else. I did talk a little bit about housing in the report, just looking, obviously talking about Washington, which we discussed today, the Jefferson Street, the corridor project by Commonwealth. The Plan Commission talked about that one last night. It'll be coming forward for their GDP SIP to council next week. So that project is progressing very nicely.
Which one is that? I'm sorry.
It's on the RDA properties on Jefferson and North Main Street,
Oh, yeah,
north
yeah,
of
yeah.
Parkway there. So we're really excited about that one. They've had some great neighborhood meetings and have been doing a good job with community outreach. And then, not so much related to RDA, but the city did purchase property kind of just off of Jackson Street on Farmington to also do more single-family homes, kind of in that workforce income range too. And following some of the same paths that we're going down with Washington, it's going to be a little bit different style, but that is really just a direction from council that we want to try to provide opportunities for developers to construct affordable homes for residents in the city.
Can you give me a landmark?
South of Snell, north of like Logan Drive.
Okay.
One other thing I just wanted to show is about a year ago, we were talking about a lot of the RDA infill lots, and we had approved options for a couple of those, or sales, and they're finished. So I just want to show some pictures. This first one is on Wisconsin Ave, and I believe Matusek completed this one. So the front of the house is there in Wisconsin, but it's the garage in the back. He did the accessory dwelling unit, the ADU, above the garage. So it's definitely one of our success stories that we want to continue to see more of those. They did take advantage of our new homes in our neighborhood, where we do have a $25,000 grant for developers that redevelop single-family homes on our RDA property. And then the next one is the one up on Jefferson that was, I think it was at Vianola Construction completed that one. So it looks like somebody's already moved into that one, but it is really nice to see those newer homes on the RDA lots that are taking advantage of our incentives and just bringing new life to the area. So those are just a couple that I wanted to share.
Setting of the next meeting, November 20th,
Yep.
4 p.m. here.
Yep.
Is there any concerns with meeting that from anyone on the group? Excellent. So that'll be the next one, and then she's also got the first 4 that gets you through July of next year as well. So
Appreciate it.
if there's nothing else, I'll take a motion to adjourn in a second.
So moved for adjournment. Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Can you leave those dates up for a minute?
4:25.
Perfect. Thank you, everybody.
The calendar.
I love that best.